Oh boy, it is a sunny day, but how do I convert that energy into this? So you're looking at setting up a solar power management system for your tiny house or your mud house. Over here, we're setting up the solar power system in our mud house inside the OurLand Reserve. There's some key elements that you need to know about setting up a solar power system, the key parts of it. Let's go check it out. The batteries, the power management system, the solar panel, and lots of wiring. So that's all the hardware stuff. That's all the stuff that you can touch and feel. But when it comes to setting up a solar power management system, you need to know some math and you need to do some calculations. And I'm not an expert on that field. So I'm going to bring in a co-founder of OurLand called Anshu, and he's going to explain to you how exactly to do these calculations. The boring stuff.
That's not the boring stuff. That's the fun stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what we're doing here in our land and our mud house. But if you want to find out more, check the link in the description below. So to start off with, the process is we need to figure out how much power we need, how much battery we need based on the power we're using, how much solar based on the power we're using, and then finally the controller. So let's just jump right into it. One of the first steps to designing your solar system is to understand the total power you're going to use. Remember guys, this is a very important step. So you really need to understand all the items and appliances you're going to use and the total power required for it. So let's see what we have here at OurLand. In OurLand we have bulbs, fans, laptops, and phones. Let's see how we calculate the total power usage. All your electrical appliances will tell you how much power they're using, and it's normally written as watts and it's per hour. So for example, this bulb uses 5 watts per hour. So going right into how to calculate your power, that's 5 watts per hour. We have a total of 4 light bulbs. One in the veranda, one in the toilet, one in the living room, and one on the second floor. So that's a total of 4 lamps. And the final thing we need to know is how many hours we're going to use them. So generally speaking, at the worst case scenario, it becomes dark at 6 in the evening and it becomes daylight again at 6 in the morning. So that's a total of 12 hours. So we write all of this down. Let's do another one, just so that you guys know how to do it. Our fans at OurLand do 17 watts per hour. So let's do the same calculation all over again. That's 17 watts. We have a total of 2 fans here at OurLand. So that's 2 fans. And we use it for a total of 12 hours. Now if we add all of this up, we end up at a total usage of 1,278 watts. Now that you know the total amount of power that you're going to use, we've completed step 1. But before we do, remember, you always want to buffer a little bit of your power. So we ended up at 1278 watts. We're going to buffer it up to 1400 watts. Done with step 1, we're going to move into step 2 and actually see the total batteries that we need.
Hey guys, I know this sounds complicated, but actually isn't. It just takes a bit of work. What you need to do is to figure out the total amount of power consumed by all the electrical appliances in your house combined. Looks difficult, but it's actually not that hard.
There are various ways to design this system. You can go check out the link in the description if you want more details. But in OurLand, our system is based on a 12-volt system. Now, to design your battery, there's a very important part that you want to know. Your battery acts as your backup. So you want to imagine that if you don't have sunlight, how long would you not have it? Because we live in Kanchanaburi, we have sunlight every day for about 5 to 6 hours. Yeah? Now, for us, we believe that 2 days of a backup is more than enough. Now that we know what our system is and how much backup we want, we can actually calculate the amount of amp hours that we're using per day simply by dividing 1400 watts, which was a total power consumption, maximum power consumption in a day, divided by the system, which is 12 volts, giving you 116 amps or 116 amp hours. Now, because we want it for 2 days, that's going to be a total of 232 amp hours. Batteries do come in different configuration: 80 amp hours, 100 amp hours, 120 amp hours. The batteries we have over here are based on 100 amp hour capacity. Based on that, and the fact that they're lead acid batteries, we can only use half of it. So we would need about 4 batteries to at 50% to reach about 200 amp hours, which is just about what we need. Remember, it is a little bit more than what we have in the batteries, but we've already assumed a lot over here.
The battery is basically your storage system. So when the sun is not shining, all the energy needs to be put into your battery and then can be used at night or maybe on days in which you don't have much sun. So think of it as just a storage tank, and that's how you're supposed to calculate how many batteries you need.
Now step 3, solar panels. Now that we've finished step 2, we can go on to step 3, which is calculating your solar panels. We already know that we need 1400 watts or 1400 watt hours per day. So we can use that information and the fact that we have 4 batteries to calculate our total solar panels. We need our solar panels to produce 1400 watt hours per day. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how much daylight we need to get. In order to figure out daylight, it gets a little bit complicated because you need to first see how the sun moves. Second, you need to place the solar panels in the same direction of the sun movement so you can maximize the amount of energy that you're capturing. And thirdly, check your weather forecast, check the data to see how many hours of daylight you're getting. In Kanchanaburi, we get about 6 hours of daylight. So we need our solar panels to produce 1400 watt hours in 6 hours of daylight. The easy answer, or the easy way to go about it, is to find the hourly rate that we need. So 1400 divided by 6 hours gives us 233 watts is what we need to produce every hour. Solar panels do come in different sizes and in different capacities. The ones we have here at OurLand is one solar panel which produces 300 watts. Our 300 watts is much more than our requirement of 233, so we have decided to go with one panel at 300 watts here at OurLand.
The solar panels are basically a production facility for electricity. So you got to think about it. How much power do you use in a day? And how much power can you produce in a day? Right? They've got to add up.
So for the last part of our designing for the power system of the mudhouse, we need to choose our controller. Just to start off as a recap, we already have our power, which is 1400 watt hours that we're using per day. We have our total batteries that we require, which is 4 batteries to manage our system, and our solar panels, which is one solar panel at 300 watts. Now, time to check out our controller. Controller is a machine that converts and stores the energy that's produced by your solar panels into your batteries. So it's very important to choose the right controller so that when you're producing the energy, it doesn't burn out your controller. How do you know how many amperes your controller is supposed to be? So let's come figure this out. We know our system is a 12 volt system. We know that we have panels or solar panels at 300 watts. The easiest way to see the maximum ampere in the system is 300 divided by 12. So we know that this system at a very maximum will only generate 25 amps of load. When you buy your PWM or any other type of controller, you get it in different variations. 10 amps, 15 amps, 20 amps, 50 amps, 100 amps. You get to choose whichever amps. All you got to make sure is that the PWM controller, or whichever controller you choose, has a higher amperage than you have calculated over here. Now, let's go check out the real system.
The controller. The controller is kind of like a road. Too many cars going into the road and the road could get damaged. Too less cars in the road, that means maybe you spent too much money on your road. So the controller is decided based on all the past three things that we just explained, right? So you've got to choose the right controller for your system. So let's check out the system. The first part of the system is right over there. Our solar panel. Rays of the sun, photons of light leave the sun after nuclear fission and travel 152 million kilometers to get all the way here, fall onto our solar panel and produce electricity. What happens next? It comes over here at the power management system. Now this is very important because sometimes the solar panels will produce a lot more voltage. So your 12 volt solar panel might actually produce all the way up to 20 volts of power. It is the power management system that dials it down to between about 13 to 15 volts and feeds that into your batteries right over here, right? Now this is a very important next step because once the batteries are charged, right, the batteries then provide power to all the appliances inside your house. Also, not necessarily that your battery is charging, because the power management system has the ability to, one, charge the batteries, and at the same time also provide power for all your appliances at home, which is commonly what happens during the day. So where is all this power going? Let's take a look. It goes right over here. Ta-da! Remember about the luxuries of life, and that is one of the things that solar power brings to the mud house. Right over here. Like this is a very important unit in the power management system. Now, what this does is converts 12 volts into 5 volts of power. Most mobile phones are running on 5 volts of power. So this is a direct conversion between 12 volts and 5 volts. So I can plug in my phone right here and charge it, right? And I can also plug in other kind of equipments that require 5 volts, like this power bank, which I can charge during the day, and I can charge my phone during the night. That's for my mobile phone. But there's one more important thing, right? So if you come down here is the next piece of equipment that is super important, and that is my inverter. What the inverter does is that it converts 12 volts all the way up to 220 volts, which is then converted by the laptop adapter to the required voltage for the laptop, which can be anywhere between 15 volts all the way up to 20 volts. That depends, right? The reason we do this is so that it can be used with several devices. You can find a 12 volt to 19 volt or 20 volt or whatever the voltage of your laptop is, but then it becomes very specific only for your laptop. An easy way is to get an inverter. In this case, this is a 1000 watt inverter, and it allows me to plug in pretty much any device that runs on 220 volts. So you've seen all
the fans, the lights, the laptop charger, the mobile phone charger, all being charged out of our 300-watt solar panels, our 4 batteries that we have up there, and our power management system. It's just simply amazing to have your own power source in your hands, not to depend on the outside world for the, or electricity at all. Right? It does give you a sense of power within itself. So I'd always recommend anybody who's considering a tiny house or a mud house to consider solar power for yourself. It also makes you very much of a minimalist, because then you really think about the appliances that you want to use, right? So you don't need to always be ready for really big high power appliances. So, and in those cases, you can always have a generator ready just in case, or borrow one from your neighbor, right? Or they can be a community generator, right? So, gotta admit, thank you to the sun god Ra for all that electricity.